I'm an assistant deputy minister. I'm responsible for a division of employment, immigration and industry called Labor Standards and Workplace Safety. That's responsible for occupational health and safety, employment standards, labor relations, mediation, professions and occupations. Recently been added to that was responsibility for the labor piece of the TILMA agreement. And I'm sure there's some other things I'm responsible for as well, but it seems to me that everything gets piled on to this division. So that's why I'm here. Your deliberations are important to my division. So I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the Honourable Iris Evans, her government colleagues, and Ulysses Curry, the Deputy Minister of Employment, Immigration and Industry. It's great to be with Alberta's heavy equipment operator stakeholders. We call you the yellow metal folks who contribute so much to Alberta's thriving economy. Over 12,000 Albertans are employed in the heavy equipment operators occupational group, and as you know, that number is only growing. Forecast for the next 5 years, upwards of 500 new positions will be created in your sector each year, in addition to job openings created by employment turnover. This thriving economy is welcome but creates challenges. It's the focus of a good part of your day, and so it should be. This thriving economy is a focus for government as well. EII is comprised of the former Ministry of Human Resources and Employment, with portions of economic development, advanced education, Aboriginal affairs and northern development, along with agriculture, food, and rural development. And if you're aware of where HR&E came from, we came from Alberta Labour, elements of advanced education and career development, and elements from family and social services. So EII's business covers a lot of areas: occupational health and safety, employment standards and labor relations. It helps Albertans find and keep jobs. It helps develop Alberta's labor force. It helps with immigration, the provincial nominee program, economic and rural development. There's a new Office of Information and Statistics, which has been added to the department to ensure that there's a central place in government that will provide us with statistics and statistical information rather than have a number of different ministries developing their own. And also, as I just mentioned, labor mobility, the legislation that governs self-regulating professions, and the new Trade Investment and Labor Mobility Agreement between Alberta and British Columbia. Premier Stelmach's 5 priorities: govern with integrity and transparency, manage growth pressure, improve Albertans' quality of life, build a stronger Alberta, and provide safe and secure communities. And EII is responsible for many of these priorities. Alberta's heavy equipment operators, like many others in this province, are experiencing a severe labor shortage. Alberta could be short as many as 109,000 workers over the next 10 years. Many sectors, including yours, say we need to start moving beyond traditional ways of doing business and how skilled operators are recruited, trained, and retained. We all have a role to play. It takes a collaborative effort. The OE 955 Training Fund is an excellent example of working together to address issues of common concern. Through a number of actions, the province is mitigating labor and skill shortages. Alberta's labor strategy, Building and Educating Tomorrow's Workforce, outlines actions to ensure Alberta has more workers, educated and trained people, and innovative work environments. We hope to develop Albertan skills. The department has put close to $300 million invested this year in programs and services to help Albertans with low incomes get the training and supports they need to participate in the labor force. Encourage the hiring of people underrepresented in the workforce, including Aboriginal people and persons with disabilities. Retain workers we have. Don't let the skills and experience of a highly skilled worker walk out the door. It's necessary, I believe, for employers to become more flexible, innovative and creative to retain employees, and we need to attract workers to our province. The Canada-Alberta Immigration Agreement advances our ability to implement a Made in Alberta immigration strategy and responds to our immediate need for labor. Many businesses and industries are turning to the temporary foreign worker program to fill immediate labor shortages. It's important to remember that before employers can consider recruiting a temporary foreign worker, they must prove there is no Albertan or Canadian available to do the job. It's hoped the agreement will help speed up the processing of temporary foreign workers. And the immigration agreement also resulted in the expansion of the Alberta Provincial Nominee Program, which is an employer-driven program which allows employers to retain those who they brought in under the temporary foreign worker program if they continue to need that person, if the person wants to stay here, and there's no Albertan who wants the job. EII is working with a number of sectors on specific strategies. Retail and tourism strategies are already released, and next year, government will facilitate a dialogue within the transportation and logistics sector. The outcome will be a sector-specific strategy to address skill and labor shortages. Safety performance. Workplace safety is an area close to me. Keeping workers safe and healthy helps ensure we have the skilled labor we need. A fair amount of attention on court cases lately involving health and safety issues in the workplace. 2006 was a precedent-setting year. 7 companies and 3 individuals were found guilty of infractions with fines of over $1.5 million. One company, Reynolds Museum Limited, that was the company that had a pickup truck which was being restored, was stood on its upright on its end, and a young worker was doing some sandblasting on it and it fell on him. And not only was he working alone, but the vehicle wasn't secured properly. That company was fined $500,000, which is the maximum allowed under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The average fine is also increasing, by the way. The courts are recognizing workplace incidents are avoidable. So far in 2007, an oil field services company was fined over $75,000. A welding company was fined $350,000, and a company responsible for a workplace fatality involving a backhoe in 2003 was fined $350,000. Now, one of the changes that we made in the Occupational Health and Safety Act a few years ago was to allow for alternative sentencing, which is a creative way of finding companies and ensuring funds go to where they are needed. Such things as Stars Air Ambulance, the U of A burn unit, health regions, post-secondary institutions for safety training programs, etc. What it essentially does is allows the judge to say that this amount of the money will be considered to be a fine and the rest of it is put back into the safety community. So I think it was a good way so that we actually don't just have the money going into the government general revenue fund. The culture of health and safety in the workplace is growing and we're headed in the right direction. Last year there were 124 workplace fatalities. That was down from 143 from the year prior. Back in the 80s there were a couple of years where workplace fatalities came close to 170. And we have to remember that the workplace has grown an awful lot since those times. The fatality rate, though, compares the number of fatalities with the working population. In 2006, the rate fell to 78 fatalities per million person years, which is the lowest rate since 1991 when the current methodology was implemented. Prior to that time, we weren't taking a rate, we were just simply looking at the gross figures. The provincial lost time claim rate for 2006 was 2.35 per 100 person years worked, down from 2.41 in 2005. This marks the 6th straight year the rate has dropped. Now, back in 2001, I believe it was, then Minister Clint Dunford instituted what he called WorkSafe Alberta. And I was the ADM responsible for the area at the time. And I can tell you that the OEs affected this initiative, which is now keeping people safe. The minister and I attended a symposium at Syncrude, and an operating engineer did a presentation. He'd been severely injured in an accident, and I can remember the minister sitting next to me, and he listened to this man and this man's wife's story, and he nudged me and he said, "We have to do something about this, David." He did a great thing. He said, "We're going to get serious about this." He said, "We need to make sure that workers in this province come home safe at the end of the day." And these kind of figures represent having about 15,000 people more each year going home safe every day of their work life than what was happening in the past. And I applaud you folks for doing it for us. Employers, employees, and government will continue to work together to lower the fatality rates and lost time claim rates. That fatality rate, by the way, at least a third of the fatality rate is attributable to workplace illness. And we are still seeing the effects of the old days when people weren't looking after such things as asbestos remediation in a thoughtful, careful way. And so a number of people are actually showing up on this fatality rate who were damaged years and years ago. So we keep moving forward as we go. Your actions as heavy equipment operators play a key role in these efforts. The message is simple. If we prevent injury and illness at work, employees stay on the job and contribute to Alberta's economic prosperity. And that's not even factoring in the fact that these people are human beings and deserve to be able to go to work and come home safely to their families. Heavy focus is on young worker safety this year. We're planning on launching a campaign about that this fall. So in conclusion, these are challenging times. Calgary Herald story yesterday, hiring hindered by hot economy. Like, holy smokes. You know, a while back, you know, we'd be saying to ourselves, boy, the economy is bad because it's cold, and now the economy is suffering because it's so good. We read these types of stories every day. The bottom line is a skilled workforce, one that is ready to meet the needs of a growing economy, is not something that is just good to have, it's essential. There are billions of dollars of construction projects planned for the coming years. The Alberta government can't do it alone. We need business, industry, post-secondary institutions, labor groups, and individuals to help us work together towards this goal. Only then will we have the right people with the right skills at the right time. Your discussions today are an important early step in moving forward, working through the challenges of Alberta's thriving economy. I look forward to your continuing contributions as we work together in the months and years to come, and thank you very much.